All right. Hi, everybody. It's me, Warhide, and I have Professor Spira here for another freeform interview. How about you introduce yourself to everyone?
All right. Well, I am Professor Spira, and I practice something called the mucusless diet healing system. I've practiced it for almost 13 years. And before I got into that, I was a 280 pound, really pushing 300 pounds when at the heaviest I ever was. But it was about 280 pounds. And
Oh, what happened?
I got there was some kind of technical.
Oh,
Sorry about that. Something's going on weird here. I'm hearing everything back.
oh, that's weird. Hold on one second. Let me see what's happening.
I'm not sure if that's
It might
on
be my
my
mic.
side or
It might be mine. Hold on. I'm gonna
okay.
mute, but you can
Okay.
continue.
Sorry. I just figured it out. I see what the problem was. So okay.
Okay, it's okay.
All right. So I'm gonna start again. I see this is live internet television. So this is what happens sometimes when we're starting, getting used to doing all this. So apologize for that. No, what was happening? It was playing back like with a 30-second delay in my ear
Oh,
because I
okay.
because I had I didn't realize I had this open in another in another section.
Oh, okay. That's
So
fine.
I think we're good now. So practice mucus diet, and I had all kinds of illnesses and ailments, and just did not just was not feeling good, and so let's see, this should click automatically. Um, Hold on a second. There's a let's see. Okay. Uh, I was trying to figure out how to do it so it would automatically go back and forth between the two of us when we talk.
Oh, it's not doing that for you? It's like whenever
No,
I
is it?
talk, it comes onto me, and then when you talk,
Oh,
it goes
okay.
to you.
Okay. All right. Good.
Uh-huh.
As long as it's doing that for you.
Okay.
Um. So but I suffered from all kinds of ailments like mucus problems, and I had chronic migraine headaches all the time. Used to take pharmaceutical medication since I was like 7 years old. All these, they told me I had allergies.
Oh yeah,
They
the
told
magical
me,
allergies.
yeah. They just, they come up with these concepts and they say, well, this is what you have, and they never offer any cure for it. They don't
Mhm.
offer a way for you to heal yourself. They only offer you some suppressants. So for years, I was suppressing the natural eliminations that my body was trying to do, which was like the worst thing that I could be doing for myself. So no wonder I felt so bad all the time and had so many mucus related problems. So when I learned about the mucusless diet, I'm a jazz musician,
Mhm.
and I had started trying to learn about uh black music, music of the African diaspora, and to do that, I wanted to immerse myself within black music making communities, and so that's what I did. And when I was there, I met a gentleman by the name of Brother Air, aka Willie Smart, and he told me about mucusless diet healing system. And it at first I was like, wow, that it just made sense. We had this famous discussion one day where we were at a jam session, and me and my friend were sitting there eating all this free food in between sets, and Brother Air was sitting across from us, and he just was looking at us with this funny look.
Uh-huh.
And then it was almost like, okay, I can't be quiet anymore. I got to tell these guys what's up. And so he started telling us about the mucusless diet, and at that time, I was like eating chicken wings, and I started slowing down. I was like, okay, I guess that's over. And so it was soon after that conversation, I read the Mucusless Diet Healing System by Professor Arnold Ehret, and the rest is history. I mean, it is one of the most transformative texts that you can read,
Mhm.
and so many people have had that same experience. People that aren't ready for it are going to be repelled by it. I mean, there's people that if you're not open to it, and you're not karmically ready, then you will have this sort of you almost be angry about it. I've I had someone tell me that they were reading my book, and somebody had they like ripped it apart. They got so mad. I mean, just
That's
and
crazy.
so that to me, that's a good sign. That's letting you know you have a good book, because it's either gonna, you on one hand you have people calling you up saying that it helped save their life and change your life, and they got over some illness, or they did this, or because of the book. And then somebody else that wasn't ready, they just they want to just burn it, and they would try to they want to crucify the book. And so that's why I got real passionate about trying to relate this information to more people, because I was in a very small community, in a very unlikely place in Cincinnati, Ohio, where there was a group of people practicing this diet, and I had access to these folks, and I'm a fairly studious person, so I was like asking a million questions and analyzing, and before I knew it, I had kind of compiled an understanding of a lot of different people's experiences, either their successes, their failures. I basically just tried to become a repository for people's experiences on this diet, and really to analyze the words that Eric, like, what was so profound, or what Eric had to say, what's, how does experience change the context of the text, the way the text reads. So I got into this deeply, and it started to occur to me that it would be great to update the mucus's diet, maintain the original character, maintain most of the original text, but to comment on it and to update people in the 21st century. And so that's where I said the annotated mucus's diet came out of that. And so I just released. I released the ebook version, the PDF version, some maybe 2 years ago, but just past November, we released the paperback version of the annotated mucus's diet healing system.
Sorry, I didn't want to switching back and forth, but that's awesome. Have you noticed, because my audience is more into health, coming from a standpoint of a freeformer, when you started freeforming, were you already on the mucusless diet, or was this before the mucusless diet?
The mucusless diet is responsible for me, growing out my hair and developing that consciousness. I never read any books. I never studied, like, I didn't study all of the authors that I know a lot of the folks like in the Black consciousness community would study. I got to that later, but by that time, I basically, the mucusless diet was the foundation, and everything else came out of that. And and so that was really where it started. And Eric talks quite a bit about hair. Talks about it when you look at just the back to nature movement. There's this back to nature renaissance that started in the late 1800s in Europe, and Arnold Ehret was a major protagonist in that back to nature movement. And so this was folks that particularly in Germany, in Switzerland, that were kind of in this industrial society, that this right when industrialization had just hit, and there was a lot of people that said, like, I don't want to live like this. And so they started looking at some of the old, like the pagan religions and things that were the nature religions, and they were like, we're going to leave society, and we're going to go out into the woods, and we're going to create our own little communes. We're going to have, we'll be like, that's where the nudist colonies come out of that, the fruitarian and vegetarian camps and all that, just came out of that consciousness. And that was the European side. Later, 1920s and 30s and on in, once you start getting into, say, on that African diasporic side, you have the Rastafari movement and the Garvey, and there's the back to nature elements there. And so, like I said to you in an email, I want to actually try to create an article that fuses those two histories together, because nobody has really done that yet. Usually people are either looking just at the African diasporic back to nature movement or just the European.
See, I mean, if you're on, well, you're not on my Facebook page. If you were to get on my Facebook page, I'd like to talk about this a lot, because a lot of people don't understand something like social engineering and things like that. And I'm like, a lot of these things that we're talking about as singular people were actually happening simultaneously. You know what I mean? Like during when people of the African diaspora were getting into health, getting out of the slave food, propaganda and things like that, it was a worldwide phenomenon. It's like there's vegetarians popping up worldwide, and it's very strange to me that a lot of people like to present the information. Like, I'm glad you're presenting the information from both sides, because it shows that this is just human nature. This is where humanity is sort of evolving to,
Right.
versus just some kind of fad. It's like this has been going on for hundreds of years. This information has been out for literally hundreds of years. And it's like now, I don't know if you're into astrology, we're in the age of Aquarius, and all of this new information and all this knowing is happening. And I don't know, I love it. I can't
Yeah.
wait to read the article, but
Mm-hmm.
I'm very excited.
Yeah, because I mean, it's the time to wake up. Humanity's been asleep way too long. And like you said, I mean, there's nothing new under the sun. This information, this isn't new. It's just that different people, based on their context, come to the information differently. And that's kind of interesting to me. Where some people come and it's based in like a religious dogma, other people come and it's based in a health aspiration. Other people come and it's based on being forced to come because because they were sick, terminally ill, and there was nothing else for them to do, and so they were sort of forced to do it. And so those are definitely things that really interest me. And so for me, it's I like to just because the thing that was interesting about the hair and everything for me was, I guess, like I said, I really didn't, at the time, I didn't really study it. I mean, I was around mucusless diet healing system practitioners that had dreadlocks, but I never really had those discussions with them. It wasn't something that was like, hey, you should do. It's like, no, we never had that discussion. It was just, once I started getting clean enough, it just, that's what felt natural. It didn't make any sense to be cutting my hair. The last time that I ever shaved, I just remember shaving, and then the next, like later in the day and the next day, it just felt so uncomfortable. It hurt because like the whiskers are coming back in, and I'm like, this is ridiculous. Why would I put a blade to my face and cut something off that should be there? It wouldn't
Yeah,
it
it's like
wouldn't
this is
grow
there
if it's
to
not
help
supposed to be there.
you. Like,
Yeah.
I try and get to people to understand that, because normally when you're like us, dark skinned, of African descent, people tend to look at you like you're crazy sometimes when you wear your natural hair. And you just have to, it's like, I don't know, because I run a group that's specifically about people just, growing freeform hair, growing their natural
Yeah.
hair. And a lot of it comes down to why did I do that? A lot of people were just like, they just got tired of it. They were tired of perms, they were tired of cutting their hair. They just started asking themselves, like, why am I doing this? Who am I doing this for? Am I just trying to impress people? It's just a lot of questions. And then afterwards, a lot of people got into the health aspect of it too, because then it becomes, why am I eating like this? Why does everyone I know eat like crap? Why is McDonald's a thing? Like, what is going on in the world?
Yeah. It's what happens in society that I've seen is we live in a time, we call it bizarro world. Everything is backward. Everything. I mean, everything is diametrically opposed. So within society, especially Western society, the things that are commonly thought to represent cleanliness actually represent filthiness, and vice
Hmm.
versa. So that stereotype of someone that has natural hair or is unshaven or whatever as being dirty or disheveled or something, that's the exact opposite, because you have to have a certain amount of cleanliness to be able to do this. Because
Yes.
hair, because the hair, the spiral hair is supposed to naturally grow in that spiral, and it does this. I never twisted any of this. I didn't touch it. I just and it just does it, and and so that's a piece that, and that's something, another thing Eric talks about, because Eric's real interesting because he gets into some stuff in terms of physiology and skin color and all these things that are too heavy for most people of any color, because I talk about those, because I don't even bring those things up half the time, like the theories on that. Like, I usually leave that alone and just focus on the mechanics of the transition diet, because I found few people that can actually deal with those discussions, in any kind of meaningful way. But ultimately, that's the thing. The hair it's like the same poisons that they use to straighten the hair in in some salon, the same poisons that straighten a lot of people's hair in their body.
Exactly. It's weird because this kind of bugs me. I really wish people would stop saying stuff like Madam CJ Walker. Why is she considered why is she a historic figure? And it's like the only thing she did was figure out a way to straighten and kill people fast. Like, straighten your
Mhm.
hair with dangerous products that are gonna kill you faster so that you can
uh,
imitate a certain look that very few people in the human family can even naturally obtain. So it's just, I don't know. I have issues with that. If
yeah,
anyone's here
whatever.
and
What
they're
wasn't she the Oprah of her time? I mean, she's
yes,
kind of,
she must have been the Oprah of her time. I don't know.
yeah.
I saw her. I was in the school and they had her on the wall as a prominent black figure, and I was like, "This is the most racist thing I've ever seen in my life." Like, like, if you want to talk about racism, let's talk about Madam C.J. Walker for
Madam
a
C.J.
second.
Walker. Yeah, yeah,
Oh man.
yeah. But
But
yeah.
go ahead. Oh, I was gonna ask you. So have you noticed a certain type of I don't know, have you noticed a certain kind of confidence in yourself since you decided to freeform, or are you still kind of the same person you were before?
Well, just getting into the mucusless diet was just really transformative.
Mhm.
And if anybody finds any of my before and after pictures, you can see it, because it looks like two different people.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, basically, what the diet did was it allowed me to be myself, because I was always someone that didn't fit into the system or really fit into society. However, when I was in high school and when I was in elementary school and stuff, I wanted to fit in. I wanted to find a way, but I also didn't want to be fake. So I sort of so that so that and I started to understand, why are the popular kids popular? Why are how these structures are formed, families, the tribalism that takes place within public school system among the cool crowd, the nerds, the jocks, the preps, just that whole dynamic. And I analyzed that just to a T, and I got to a point where I could control my image within the school, so that I could goal, which at that time I wanted to be popular, so I wanted to, so I sort of figured out that formula, and did that, so I knew what to say and how to act and all that kind of thing to be, but at the same time I could still sort of be who I was. But the thing that I could never really do, because it was against societal norms, was to have intellectual conversations, to have deep conversations about observations in society and history, and and that was until I became a graduate student, where that is acceptable, and where you find groups of people that do that, or in the Black consciousness community was actually where I first was surrounded by other intelligent Black folks that actually really that's on that level. But until then, with the whole school structure, it was just you couldn't talk about anything heavy. You couldn't just start bringing up, well, why are we here? What's the purpose of humanity? I mean, you couldn't. And I would have liked to have been talking about that all through high school, but I basically had to be if I wanted to be popular, I had to be the jock, as I played football as well as music and everything else I did. And so I kind of played that role. But so as far as confidence, I mean, I've always been a confident person overall. And I've never really been shy. I've always liked being on stage performing. And I've, so those things are the same. I mean, the main thing that really changed was, I got more confident in just who I am, just as a, just as an artist, jazz music, that level.
Okay. Oh, that was strange. Okay. So that's awesome. I came from a background of also being one of those super confident people in high school. I was just more like I was the fat kid, so it was easy. It was easier to be confident fat kid than to get pushed on as a fat kid. So, so I feel where you're coming from. And one, I totally love your entire diet plan because personally, I'm kind of tired of talking about hair. I kind of want to get into the diet. So a lot of people, when I say diet, I'm not talking about a fan diet. I'm talking about the literal term of diet, like as in the way you eat. So, because this is one of those things where you're going to do a lifestyle change. And personally, I've been watching your videos for probably a little over a year now. And previous to that, I was vegan for about 2 years. And like I went through my own transitional period where I saw what it was like to be like very healthy, very plant-based, to being like super fit, super athletic, and then going into a mucus food, like no meat. I can't eat meat, I can't eat animals, but like cheese, processed foods, flours, yeast, stuff like that, and like blowing up overnight just because of basic mucus forming foods. I would get sick and all these other things, and like just going through that experience kind of proved to me that any diet, any lifestyle that includes meat, eggs, cheese, just stuff that everyone tells you is terrible for you basically, is really the worst for your body. Like there's no reason to do it to yourself. It's just going to make you miserable in the long run. Like it tastes, I can't even say the taste are real because half the time it's filled with MSG. But when you start to read books like yours, you start to research, because I tell people research, get the books, listen to people, do whatever you have to, do your own experiments, fail, do whatever, but just do it, just don't make excuses. Don't just sit there and eat the same crap and you see everyone around you who eats that crap getting sicker and sicker. Like, sorry, like I just go in on this because I can't. I'm a big person for health. And what is it that, I don't know, what is it that you usually hear about? What is usually the biggest reason a person comes to you to get off of the foods and all of the junk and all of that?
Well, I noticed that there's a couple different types of people that tend to come asking me for advice, or they're checking out the mucusless diet. It tends to either be people that are almost terminally ill or have some kind of chronic illness, and they've not been able to find any remedy within the medical establishment. They might have even tried different things and pills, or they have enough consciousness where they don't want to go down that road. They want to try something else. So I'll work with those folks, and those are a lot of the type of people that Eric worked with. It was just people on their deathbed, and if you catch people early enough and you put them on the right type of transition and the right fasting process, then there's a remarkable things can happen. But the other people that have been coming there's actually I've been happy to see a lot of younger folks coming that are just ready for something different, just ready for a change, ready for really the whole package, the cultural revolution, process. And so I've been getting a lot of those kind of folks. And then every once in a while there'll be someone kind of like me, was someone that just ate horrible, that just ate as bad as you can eat, but finds that this system is effective, that this makes sense, and then starts to apply the principles, and then of course lose all kinds of weight and all that kind of stuff. But so it's interesting. I've had over the years, one of the reasons that I put together the annotated mucusless diet, got another book called Spira Speaks, Dialogues and Essays on the Mucusless Diet Healing System, which has a lot of case studies and analysis and practical information about the mucusless diet. But one of the reasons that I put all that together was I wanted to have a place to direct people to. So when I get general questions, oftentimes I will answer a little bit or something. But if it's something that's clearly talked about in the mucusless diet, then I'd be like, well, hey, have you read the mucusless diet yet? Check that out. And before I'd had that out, I mean, it was, I used to buy the original book for people all the time. But of course I spent, spending thousands of dollars on giving people a free book that they probably wasn't going to read, which wasn't super smart. But sometimes you feel like doing that when you're just getting into the diet and you're so excited about it. But so I learned, I was like, okay, well, let me create something and put together a website, put together a book, all the resources, so that everybody can get a basic education about the mucusless diet, and then if they want to deal with more advanced questions, then we get into the consultation stuff, and or we got a Facebook forum, and so there's avenues where we can go. You got to read through the books, you got to just know that basic information, and then we can really start to take this stuff somewhere, because we want to take this someplace. We want to build on the experiences and the work of our predecessors and try to take it to take it to the next level. So in order to do that, you gotta deal with those source materials.
Sure. So would you say that you're in the beginning of, probably I'd say we're in the middle of an old revolution, where the person basically gets themselves ready or correct instead of, what should I say? Like they work on their own inner issues versus focusing on the outside. Like I've seen a couple of your videos, and you like to, I don't know, I like some of your terms, like when you say you're practicing a certain diet or you're doing this, because that is what it is. In reality, you are practicing. You're constantly practicing, because there's no such thing as perfection. There's one doctor I saw who said he's like, once in a while I like to eat a piece of turkey, not because I have to, but just to prove that I can
saw
do
that
it.
too. Yeah. You're like, okay, thanks, doc. All right.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. But are you more into that route where you're like, you can do anything you want to do, but why not just work on yourself? Because a lot of people are talking about revolutionary acts, and there's just tons of different ways to do it.
I mean, to me, as brother Air says, and I say, one of us says, sometimes our quotes are I don't remember who does the quote first, but he said, the highest form of revolutionary are those that learn how to control what they put in their mouths. So for me, if you're not talking about mucusless diet level transformation, building a society based on mucusless diet, based on, a mucus-free living, transitioning toward those aims. If you're not talking about that, then you're not talking about 21st century revolution, and that's just my opinion. That has to be a part of it. And when I look back and I learned a lot, and I used to I've kind of changed my tone and as I evolve and change a little bit. But when I first came out and was talking about the mucusless diet, I was fairly hardcore, and I kind of used as my motto. I basically wanted to be like Huey P. Newton or Malcolm X talking about the mucusless diet. So it was very, very rugged, and I was just ripped. But I noticed that scared people. But I mean, and not just people in general, that scared Black people, because I'd be breaking down the diet in language that in terms that they should understand. As we talk about, you can't complain about your oppressor when you eat like them. And then all of a sudden they're like,
Exactly.
oh dear, but because you went to the same Taco Bell that George W. Bush went to. So you can't be coming in here talking about revolution if you eating the same slop.
Yes.
So
Yeah. Sorry, I'm so 100 on that. I just repeat that one more time, please. Do not, just please.
You cannot be talking about revolution as long as you trying to eat the same slop and mess that your oppressors eat. You trying to live like your oppressors. It does not work. A lot of these so-called revolutionaries, as Brother Air would say, they just want their turn at the table. They just want their turn to oppress. It's like, it's my turn. It's my turn to run things. And we're saying this entire thing has to be scrapped. We got to start over again from the ground up. And very few people are really, really that deep and dedicated into the struggle to say, like, okay, this is not working. Pus and mucus society is not working. We have to make some serious changes. And if that means that, we got to migrate and go find some land and have some fruit trees and, just create the society that we want, then that's what it's going to come to, but in the meantime, we can use the resources clean ourselves up, start the cleaning process. There's no excuse to not get started. There's no, because people say, well, I need to live in a tropical climate. And I was like, man, I've done 6-month long juice fast in the middle of winter in below zero temperatures, and Brother Air's done 9.5-month fast. So that whole thing is not really where it's at. Of course, you can just go so much further when you get into an environment, but we have to transition back to those environments. And the cleaner we get, the more that we will be pulled in that direction, so that we will start to do whatever we need to do, put our resources together, raise the money, whatever it takes to be able to make that kind of move and to be able to set ourselves up in a more human-like environment, because a lot of these northern climates they're not human-like at all. And so for me, that's the revolution. I still participate in some of the different, like the before they had coined the term the Black Lives Matter. I was actually kind of a community organizer a couple years ago during the Trayvon Martin thing, and I was working with different organizations and stuff. But I was always trying to bring in that element of, well, the two pieces, the artistic element, to say you can't have a revolutionary movement without having the artist involved in the art that reflects that movement, and then two, because I'd always show up with protests with my trombone, and people would just like love it. It would just be like, I would just create such a vibe, just to have that trombone involved. But two, to try and fuse some of these movements, and this is a more, I didn't get there yet, but what I would like to see is, I can't see if everybody sort of comes together based on the concept of hate, and trying to basically confront all forms of hatred, then we could have the vegan PETA type of people, the animal rights activist type of people, come together with the Black Lives Matter type of people, come together with the feminists, come together with Native American movement, bring all these movements together. Now I don't know if that can happen, but that was something that went, that I would have liked to have seen, with just with all these different energies, because it's so segregated, particularly in the realm of diet.
Hmm. I think a lot of people don't realize as well that their diet plays such a huge part in those feelings and in those um, emotional tug of wars between other people. Like before, when I first started on just cleaning out my body from like years of eating meat, McDonald's, fast food, things like that, I was going through a lot of emotional issues, And I know you touch on that in your book and you touch on that in a lot of your videos. And I don't think people completely understand that. Sometimes when you're talking to them, a lot of times they think you're saying, "Oh, you think you're better than me? You're better than me," that kind of thing, instead of just you being like, "Bruh, I went through what you're going through. This is how I got out of it. This is how these are the issues I went through in the beginning. I was having anger issues. I was depressed. I wanted to, it's like this is a very common feeling, and a lot of people don't realize it comes from what you eat. Like if I eat nothing but fruit salad, water, juice for months and months and months, I feel awesome. I feel like a big ray of sunshine. I'm ready to just keep it moving. But if I eat nothing but Mickey D's, Burger King, Taco Bell, the average American diet, then not only like what I'm trying to say, it's like it's not just it's like that's not normal. It's like that's not a normal feeling. You shouldn't feel angry and like people are attacking you all the time and things like that. I'm like, that's not normal. That's a huge what am I trying to say? It's like a malfunction. Like you're malfunctioning as a human being when you're feeling that way, because you can't control those issues. Like if you're depressed for weeks and weeks and weeks at a time, that's not normal. Look at your diet. Look at what you're doing to yourself. Look at the people you're hanging around. You know. But what would your best transition advice be for people who are going through this? Because a lot of people can't make it through the first week sometimes because of all of those issues. They're like, why do I feel like crap and this, and this?
The magic key when you get to that part of it is the lemon juice enemas. That and a lot of us, we either do daily lemon juice enemas, or we, especially in the beginning, some people have done them multiple times a day. Eric talks about them, that they're essential during fasting periods. They're fairly essential when you're just getting into the diet, because we got 32 feet of impacted intestines, and there's so much grime and slime and hardened feces and decades old feces stones and all kinds of stuff that's in this long 32-foot long tube. And you're not going to clean that thing out overnight, and you can't do some cleanse. Hate that word. I almost hate that word when people say, I'm going to do a cleanse. Like, man, just you're like, this is something that you just need to do and be into that. Your lifestyle needs to be a one long cleanse, not just some 21-day thing. And so you start doing what you can, but you got to understand that as long as those poisons are still in your system, you're still going to crave them. So the main thing that you can do to help aid the process is to get into the lemon juice enemas, because you're constantly clearing this waste out and these poisons as they come to the surface, and you just irrigate that colon out. All human illness develops in the colon. That's the seat of all human illness. So it makes sense. Like, let's start there and start getting this stuff out. And that usually separates kind of the men from the boys and the women from the girls, when you start getting into the enemas and talking about that, because there's a lot of vegans that might try to incorporate mucus's diet principles, but they often hit walls because they never really cleanse themselves properly. because, they didn't get into the enemas. And then if they're not into the enemas, they probably shouldn't be trying to fast. And, and so that's one of the main difference between like a mucusless diet methodology and just sort of a garden variety vegan. And, so I would say that enema is important. That is
That's
really would help.
essential nowadays, guys.
It is, because I started transitioning maybe for a couple months before I started doing enemas, and it was really hard to get off of meat, because I would do good. I might go a week without the meat, and then I got to a point where I was, because I would eat a ton of fruit, ton of vegetables and salads. Then I would get to a point where I was like, oh man, I gotta have, and then I'd go and have a burger or have some kind of, or a sandwich or whatever, and so it was just like I kept relapsing. But as soon as I started doing the enemas and that weight started coming out, it totally changed everything. I mean, it shifted everything to the point where I no longer was craving the meat in that same way. And then when I did finally relapse a little later on, it made me so sick. Eating the wrong foods start to make you incredibly sick. And so that becomes a part of the process, and it's an unfortunate part of the process, but I think it's a karmic portion where at some point you're going to be on the transition and eat something that you used to could eat, and now it makes you totally sick. And sometimes you have to learn the hard way. After a while, you start to figure it out, like, okay, this, I probably shouldn't eat this anymore, eat this today. Or you learn how to eat certain things better. So as opposed to just having some kind of, a nature burger or some kind of processed vegan food, and that's it, you have a big raw salad, and then maybe you have a piece of, processed vegan food or something within the context of a raw salad. But, so those are the little methodological dynamics of the diet.
Hold on. I know a lot of people are also getting into fasting, and you have a book. Not, you don't just have the mucus side; you also have rational fasting. Could you give us an
Right.
overview of that as well?
Yeah, I guess I'd show the covers. This is the annotated mucusless diet here. This is the rational fasting that we'll talk about now. Yeah, so rational fasting, basically, there are excerpts of rational fasting that are in the mucusless diet healing system. So there's 3 sections on fasting in the mucusless diet, and so it covers kind of the basics. But to get deeper in and really get some insights into the art of fasting, then you want rational fasting. And there's different editions of rational fasting. My edition includes some articles from Fred Hirsch as well as Teresa Mitchell, who are both students of Errett, and they have some very insightful articles as well. And those articles were added in later versions of rational fasting. The original rational fasting is fairly small; it's just a couple articles. But yeah, it gets into the hair. It gets a little bit into his theories on race and blood composition and metabolism and things, and the fasting process. There's some spiritual insights as well in there. And so one of the most important parts of it probably would be the rules for fasting. Anytime he makes a list and says, number 1, do this, number 2, do this. These are things to keep in mind and to refer back to. Sometimes if I'm working with somebody and they start going through what a lot of people call a healing crisis, we call it an elimination. But when people start fasting or eating more naturally and start feeling terrible or having mucus eliminations or feel weak and tired or whatever, then I had to send them an excerpt out of rational fasting that's basically saying, anytime is normal, you're going to go through this, but there is an end. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, but you have to go through some reparations, until you get to the point where where you're healed. And then the rational part comes in, basically where he doesn't promote long-term fasting, which is something that a lot of people misinterpret, or they think that he's real radical, or that he's telling people to do radical water fast or dry fast or anything. I mean, he's totally against dry fasting. He really doesn't suggest water fasting. Even though he talks about his own experience, he did these long water fasts, and but he kind of deals with lemon water fasting and lemon juice and that kind of stuff. You can do water, but Eric actually explains why he recommends fruit juice for a lot of people as being a level of fasting that's safe and effective. But and he'll start people out with a 24-hour fast or 2 to 3 day fast. So it's very rational. I work with a lot of people that are in like the raw food movement and kind of the fruitarian movements and things. And these are people that sometimes they're a little bit more intense and they want to try to push themselves too hard. And so I actually had to rein them in. I have to say, okay, now take a step back. It's okay to eat some cooked mucus-free foods. It's okay. You don't have to do a 20-day fast. Just fast. Don't even plan it out. Just fast. You don't have to. So that's a factor. But yeah, it's a very important book. Definitely, it's a very important book and very important to understand the art of fasting because it's the omnipotent healing modality for animal life. And
I think like fasting is one of the best things ever. I don't get sick. I never got sick that often, but when I did get sick, I would be like terribly sick, and I'd be sick for like 2 weeks. Back when I ate, like, because people would still give me food and things like that when I was sick, which I've now learned is terrible idea. Like,
yeah.
Yeah. Like, could you explain that to people? Like, why is it such a bad idea to keep eating, especially to keep eating mucus-causing food when you're sick?
Yeah, that's that's it's not a good idea because first of all, your body is trying to eliminate the negative effects of those foods. It's trying to eliminate all of that waste. And so it makes absolutely no sense to try and stuff yourself with the very cause of your illness. There's a reason why you lose your appetite when you are going through an elimination or what some people say sick. It's because it's totally natural. Out in nature, you're talking about animals. Animals fast. If they get sick or they got a broken leg or whatever, there's some animals that will just go lay down somewhere and they'll either heal, they'll just not eat anything and they'll ultimately heal after a period of time, or they die, but that is sort of ingrained in them. When we go through something, even if it's an emotional trauma, we lose a loved one or something, there's a reason why we're not hungry. And there's nothing wrong with if you understand the principles of fasting and that kind of stuff. There's nothing wrong with going with your body's intuition. And what like the mucusless diet and rational fasting text can do is to help give you some guidance as to best practices. One of the most important things about a fast, and really the way that I define an effective fast versus a fast that was ineffective, is how well was the fast broken. Breaking a fast is really an art in itself, and a lot of people really don't understand that. And again, I work with people that they do these long fruit periods. They'll be eating nothing but fruit for a month, but then all of a sudden the mucus craving comes, and without any kind of transition, they find themselves eating like 7 avocados in one sitting, or eating going back to a bunch of vegan processed food, or even meat and stuff. And so that can all be avoided with somebody that does a gradual transition, that applies the transitional methodology and the fasting methodology. It's better to do a 2 to 3 day fast and control the entire process, transition into the fast, do your enemas. And then when you break the fast, depending on your physiology and how you want to break it, you can either break it with The more advanced people are going to want to break it with fruit. And someone that's a little bit more encumbered, got some more poisons, a lot of uric acid or something, they probably want to break it with a salad or vegetables. You could get some green drinks in there, green juices and stuff. But so there's different nuances and things that we can get into. But ultimately, whatever you do should be intended. It's good to it's much more important to plan out how you're going to break the fast than how long you're going to fast. Because I always hear that people is, well, how long are you going to fast? I don't know. I'm not planning out a length for my fast. But what I will plan is an exit strategy, based on how I feel during the fast and what I'm working on. I need to be very meticulous about how I'm breaking the fast. And so
Yes. So basically, guys, if you're fasting or if you're sick and you're coming off of a natural fast, don't break your fast with something like a burger and fries, right?
exactly,
try
exactly.
try to make it as healthy as possible because your body naturally isn't really down for burgers and fries. If you notice, children usually don't like those types of food just naturally. I mean, I was a server for a really long time, so I got to look at
Mm.
hundreds of different children coming in,
Yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
the majority of the time they're eating French fries, grilled cheese. You give them chicken nuggets or something like that, they'll eat the French fries, and their parents are sitting there telling them, if you don't eat that meat, you're not getting
Yeah.
some cow's
Your
milk.
your protein.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do only have
Yeah.
about 7 more minutes left, and I noticed that you didn't get to talk about Spirit Speaks. Could you tell us
Mm.
about that book as well?
I don't know if I had one sitting around, but yeah, Spirit Speaks, dialogues and essays on a mucus diet healing system is 3 volumes. It's fairly long. It's substantial work. I basically compiled a lot of articles and a lot of interactions that I had with people over the years. And I originally, when I was putting it together, I didn't know if I wanted to put it together chronologically when I wrote the things, or put it together in more of a, sort of like a beginner, intermediate, and expert level content with volumes 1, 2, and 3. And that's what I ended up doing, is the latter, where the first volume is real basic introductory stuff that everybody needs to know. Volume 2 is a little bit more intermediate, but I would still say essential reading for people serious about the mucus diet. Volume 3, we start to get a little heavier. We start to get into some more controversial topics and things. So that's going to be someone that definitely really understands the principles of mucus diet before you get to volume 3. And then I also have there's a section in there of poetry. I'm also a poet and have done poetry for many years, and have some mucus diet inspired poems and things toward the end. And so it's a very unique book. I mean, I draw a lot of inspiration from old school philosophical works, Socratic method, Plato, and that kind of thing. Just the dialogue. That's the art of the dialogue. The dialectic. Just that back and forth process. And so a lot of the interactions and the dialogue you kind of come across almost like a Socrates and talking in Plato's kind of thing, was what I was looking at, that tradition. And then there are some standalone essays on different things, and so that's pretty much Spirit Speaks. And I've really people that have read it, everybody that's read it's always really liked it. And so that's and that's all I can ask for, is just have people check it out, and then really see how deep the rabbit hole can go. That there's a lot more things, that because there's the diet principles, and that's what I try to emphasize publicly most of the time. But amongst the mucus diet community, there's some fairly advanced philosophies and theories and an entire paradigm and conception of reality that comes out of the mucus free experience. And what Spira Speaks can kind of do is give you an introduction into some of those discussions. Most people have never even heard these things. I know sometimes when when I have one of the Brother Air Unleashed videos where we get into stuff that we talk about all the time, but people have never heard that stuff. They've never heard some of these theories and some of these concepts that have emerged from a mucus free experience. And so but you have to, but in order to get there, you sort of have to go through the process, and it's best if you have had the experience to really understand some of those more advanced concepts.
Exactly. Um, I agree 100%. I can't wait to read the books myself. Very excited. I love listening to your channel. I love Professor Air. I listen to him too. I should have got him on here too. He's a freeformer. I'm sure there's lots of mucusless people who are freeforming just because, natural hair, good for your body, good stuff.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
for everyone, is there anything you would tell someone, whether they're interested in the mucusless diet, they're interested in freeforming? What would be your number one advice to them?
I mean, I would say, first and foremost, get the mucusless diet book. Whether you get my version, the annotated version, or you get the original, or whatever. Just get a hold of mucusless diet healing system. Read it. Rational fasting. Just study. Just really get into the text, and you can critically analyze them, but read them with an open mind. Read them with an open and objective approach, because there are going to be some things that you read that might kind of strike you the wrong way or kind of make you like, really, but just go with it. That's part of the adventure. Go with it. So I'd say, get into the text, and then you got to try on yourself. You got to get started. Make one of the best things that you can do that really kind of confirms to yourself that you're serious is when you get into like the lemon juice enemas or some kind of enema, because no matter what you're eating, because we don't always have control over what we're putting in our mouths because we're addicts. We're addicted to pus and mucus forming foods. So I'm not hard on people when they relapse. I relapsed, over the years. The main thing is the cleaner you get, the relapses don't go back as far because you can't physically go back as far. But in the beginning, I always say, don't be hard on yourself. Just once you commit yourself to that change and you've studied the information, then you start taking a step in that direction and doing the principles, and other things follow. When people start saying, well, isn't it expensive? No, anything that you put your mind to that you make a priority will happen. So, a lot of us buy our fruits and vegetables at wholesalers. I can go get a case of cabbage for, $10 for like, or this was years ago, so maybe it's more now, but I think you can get a thing of like 20 heads of cabbage for $10. You can get boxes of apples for $20, and so that is not a good excuse. It's just a matter of you have to immerse yourself into the consciousness, immerse yourself into, the light of truth, in terms of healing yourself, and let that be central, and kind of allow that to lead the way, and you will, you'll find your way into some really, some very elevated experiences if you do that.
Definitely. Well, it's been awesome having you on. I'm so glad I learned a ton. I watch your videos all the time. For everyone listening, there's links below in the description box. And if you're just listening to me right now, you have your phone in your hand, definitely go to mucusfreelife.com. You can see all the Dr. Spira's publications. You can get some good information. Also, you can sign up for his health coaching, his mucus-free health coaching services as well. Um, And I guess that's everything. Thank you so much
Yeah,
for doing this
yeah. One
interview
other
with me.
thing, if you
Oh, go
want
ahead.
if you want the paperback versions, then they're available on Amazon.
Yeah,
Yeah, so
awesome. And
the
check out Amazon,
PDFs are
guys.
on. Yeah, PDFs are on mucusfreelife.com, and the paperback versions are on Amazon.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Definitely check those out. Please, if anything, if you don't get the books, if you don't do anything, please at least look into your health, look into changing your consciousness, look into just going back to a natural version of yourself. Yeah. All right, guys, have a great one. Thank you so much, Professor
All
Spira.
right, peace, love, and breath.
Peace.